So we have a very, very disturbing story out of the state of Tennessee. The story actually broke about a month ago, but there's been a couple of updates. Basically, a couple from here in Georgia, where I live, I don't know if they're originally from Georgia, but they live in a suburban county called Gwinnett County, which is the second most populous county in the state. It's a major suburban county for the metro Atlanta region. And they were traveling to Chicago for a funeral. I don't know if they're from Chicago originally or not, but they were going to Chicago. And from Georgia, you have to go through Tennessee to get to Chicago. And they were maybe about, I would say, an hour and some change outside of the Nashville area. They had passed through Chattanooga, because I've driven to Nashville multiple times. I love Nashville. And on I-24, you go through some mountain towns, some rural areas north of Chattanooga, west of Chattanooga. And it's very rural, and it's not a whole lot going on out there. And they were pulled over for their windows being too dark. Their tent was too dark. And I've been pulled over for that here in Georgia as well, years ago when I was a lot younger. And the officers smelled marijuana. They were also in the left lane without passing or something like that on Interstate 24. And the officers found 5 grams of marijuana. They had their 5 children in the car. And there was also a firearm in the car. And I think the guy, Deontay Williams, was a felon. So he was arrested. The mother was not arrested. I'm assuming he claimed ownership of the marijuana and the pistol, which was the right thing to do, of course, as a man. And when she went to the jail to bond him out, about 5 hours later, when they were getting ready to release him, she tried to reach for her crying baby, who was, I think, 4 months old, and she's nursing the baby, of course. And defects happened to be called, and Department of Family and Children Services took all 5 of their kids. So here's the news clip.
And I'm Haley Wilgus. DCS took away a couple's children after a traffic stop and a misdemeanor charge. And tonight, Tennessee's Democrats are pushing DCS to give the kids back.
DCS took the kids a month ago. Here's News 2's Adam Mincer.
And when I went to go reach him, the man grabbed me. He told me, don't touch him.
It was a promise to her kids she couldn't keep.
And I'm just telling him, like, it's okay. Nobody's going to separate us.
While driving from Georgia to Chicago, Bianca Claiborne and her partner, Deontay Williams, were stopped by state troopers. According to court documents, it was for having dark-tinted windows and also driving in the left lane without passing. After being pulled over, documents say the troopers smelled marijuana, and the parents admitted to smoking it. Troopers found 0.17 ounces of marijuana in the car. Later on, Claiborne's 5 kids were taken into DCS custody after a court ruling. The kids are young, ranging from 4 months old to 7 years old.
And my oldest child, he was just looking at me like confused. And I just gave him a hug and I told him, it's not your fault.
Now, Democratic senators are calling for DCS to release the kids back to the parents.
It is absolutely ridiculous when marijuana is illegal in about half the states in the country, that a black family got 5 of their children taken away, put into DCS that's not doing a good job of taking care of the children they already have, and they won't give them their children back for a misdemeanor charge.
In a statement, the district attorney says there's more to the story than the mother and her attorneys have put out. Highway Patrol says there was a weapon in the vehicle in possession of a convicted felon, but we have yet to see any charges filed related to that claim.
We did not arrest the mother in this particular case, and with the intentions of leaving the children with her, and that's where we left it.
DCS says they can't comment on cases and adds DCS and law enforcement follow protocol for collecting evidence. Those findings are then presented to the court. In this instance, the evidence resulted in the court placing children in DCS custody. As lawyers and officials talk, Claiborne and Williams are in Georgia.
It's like death.
Awaiting court dates.
Having children that's out in the world and you can't physically see, touch, or anything like that, it's mind-boggling.
Claiborne's attorneys say DCS is now retaliating against them for releasing certain legal documents to the public. DCS did not respond to comment on that. We're also continuing to ask the department what evidence they collected that led to these children being put in state custody. Bob?
So yeah, I did some research on this case, and it's a lot of moving parts to it. I do personally believe that the Department of Children's Services and the Tennessee law enforcement agency that arrested them, Coffee County, like I said, it's a rural county. I think the population is a little bit over 50,000 people. And it's about an 84% white county, overwhelmingly white county. Not a lot of black people up there. There's not a lot of black people in Tennessee outside of the big cities, Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Clarksville. Those are the biggest cities in Tennessee. Those rural areas in Tennessee don't really have a lot of black people like that. Not saying that this is a racially motivated situation. I mean, were some of the cops racist? Maybe. I don't know. It's a rural area. Tennessee is a mostly rural state, like many other states in the South, outside of the cities. And I always tell people, when you're traveling through these rural towns outside of your city, be on your P's and Q's, regardless of where you're going, regardless of how well you know the roads. Like I said, I know that route like the back of my hand. I've been in Nashville many times. I've driven all the way to the Midwest from Georgia. I've driven to Indianapolis. You know, anything too far, I'm gonna fly. But I know I've driven through rural Kentucky, Alabama, rural Georgia. I'm from the South, born and raised in Georgia, so I know how some of these rural counties are. They don't have nothing to do. They pull you over. Of course, they want to write you tickets. They want to get your money, but not to blame them for the extent of things going the way they're going, but where they messed up at was they was riding with marijuana in a rural state, and they were smoking the marijuana while they were riding. You cannot do that. Moral of the story, do not smoke and ride when you're going on no road trip. Just wait till you get to where you're going and buy some weed from up there. That's what you got to do. I'm not advocating you do it. I'm just saying, if you like to smoke marijuana, do not bring marijuana with you and take it on the road and smoke it with your kids in the car. That's just not a good look. And some of these police, they're not going to have sympathy for you just because you got kids. They don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? And if they are racist, they really don't give a shit. But I done seen police take kids from white people too. You know what I'm saying? Some of these states that are strict on marijuana, they look at marijuana as a drug, and they gonna lock you up. The state of Oklahoma just passed. They just had a vote on legalizing marijuana for recreational use, and the state of Oklahoma voted convincingly no. But I think it passed by over 24 points. So it's some states that don't want marijuana. It's some states that's okay with it. Where I live in Georgia, it's not legal for recreational uses, but you can have medical marijuana. You got to have a special permit for it. You know, I mean, I'm not a big fan of legalizing marijuana either. I think we should decriminalize it. I don't think you should go to jail for it. Not for a few grams. It's not that serious. I mean, that's another conversation for another video. But, I mean, I am disturbed that they have lost custody of their kids. Right now, their kids are with a family friend in the Nashville area, which is not that far from where they got their kids taken away from them at. When they went to court 3 days later, the judge ordered the woman to take a hair follicle test. And a hair follicle test, for those of y'all that don't know, is the most invasive drug screen that they have. And usually a hair follicle test is for something very, very serious, like a government job, or some companies do require them. But the reason why the hair follicle test is so invasive is because it can go back 3 months. It can detect drug use back 90 days. The other tests, the swab test, ain't but a couple of days. Blood test, urine test. The most cheapest and economical one that are used is the urine test. And I've done a few of those for different jobs I worked over the years. But urine tests don't trace drug use back as far as the hair follicle test does. And according to that hair follicle test, the test says that she had methamphetamine, oxycodone, and fentanyl in her system. Yeah, I don't know what a mother of five is doing all that. I don't know if the test was screwed up or they mixed the results up. I don't know. I'm not up in Coffee County, Tennessee. But the judge is saying that they're not going to release their kids until the mother submits to a drug screen. I think they're going back to court next month in April. According to several reports, this process to get them their kids back can take several weeks or several months. It's already been over a month. They've been up without their kids for over 30 days. And I know it's hard on them because they're traveling from Georgia to Coffee County, Tennessee, which is, it's over halfway there. So it's at least a 2-hour plus drive from Gwinnett County, almost probably 3 hours, because Gwinnett is to the northeast of Atlanta. So you got to travel to the northwest to get up to Chattanooga, then hit 24. So it's at least a 5-hour round trip, at least, maybe a little bit more, just for them to go there and back. So that's extra money they're spending, time. I don't know their financial situation. I don't know their work situation, but that's gotta suck. And I feel sorry for them because they didn't mean no harm. They were just going to a funeral in Chicago, and here they are with their 5 kids taken away from them. I don't know if they're all his kids or her kids. They probably, I don't know their situation, but I know that I looked them up. They both got two different last names, Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams. But whether they're his and her kids together or not, there's still 5 children, young children. 4 months is the youngest, 7 years is the oldest. So those are young children and a baby, a newborn baby. So yeah, the moral of the story is, it's not worth it to go on a road trip and be smoking marijuana or even carrying marijuana on you. When I was younger, I used to take marijuana on my road trips to Florida or South Carolina or North Carolina, wherever I was traveling to in my car. I used to smoke a lot of marijuana when I was younger. I don't smoke it anymore, but when I was younger, I smoked it. I ain't gonna lie. And I never got pulled over and arrested for marijuana, but I have been nervous. I have been pulled over with marijuana on me. I just didn't get searched. I remember one time I went to Memphis, Tennessee, and I went to go kick it with some of my people up in Memphis. And on my way back, from Atlanta, you got to go through Alabama and Mississippi to get to Memphis. And you only go through a little bit of Mississippi, but the part of Alabama that you go through is a long chunk. That's probably most of the route is through northern Alabama. And it's a long rural ride through northern Alabama. Once you leave that Birmingham area, it is nothing but hills and rocks and trees. That's it. Big giant boulders, trees, and road. And it's a beautiful ride. The scenery is beautiful, but man, every few miles you see all kind of rural sheriffs and state patrol, Alabama State Patrol everywhere. And I didn't take no marijuana with me to Memphis last time I was up there. But my homeboy that I was kicking it with up in Memphis, he gave me some weed to take back home. Wasn't nothing special, but it was about $20 worth of weed because I wanted to smoke some weed while I was up there. And on my way back, it was so many Alabama police officers pulling people over. I threw the marijuana out the window because I didn't even want to play with them folks. I said, fuck that. I'm not taking no chances. I said, I'll get some more weed when I get back to jail. This was years ago, back in like the 2010s. This was at least 10 years ago. But it ain't worth it, man. You got kids or not, you black, white, Latino, whatever. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I know some states marijuana is legal, some states it's not. If you ride, even if you in a state where marijuana is legal, just wait and smoke the marijuana when you get to where you're going. You don't need to smoke and ride. I know it seemed cool to do. It seemed like it's harmless to do. But now the Tennessee Department of Children's Services is using that as an excuse to keep your kids. They're saying that you're endangering your children. What if you guys would have been too high to drive and crashed and hurt somebody else? Like, they got all kind of, stuff they can say about y'all. And now y'all trying to get the local Democrats up there. Oh, this is a black family, black this, black that. That black stuff is only gonna go so far. You can't resort back to race on everything. You got to take accountability on certain things. And this is a situation where the black family has to take some accountability. They should not have been smoking marijuana while they were driving, and they damn sure should not have been smoking marijuana with their children in the car. You don't want to give the police no reason whatsoever to lock you up or to interrupt your trip. You get pulled over for the tinted windows, say, officer, we'll get the tent taken care of when we get back home. We're going to a funeral out of town, and we sorry, we're going to take care of that. Officer might have let you go with a warning. But when they smell that marijuana, they got probable cause. That's when they can start doing other stuff. So my main motto is, man, don't get the police no reason, none whatsoever, and they won't be able to buy it. As long as you're following the law, they usually will let you go. You might get a citation, but they don't just harass you and lock you up unless they got a reason to. So I done already went over the time limit on the video that I wanted to. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. Peace.